After watching the PlayStation 5 Pro presentation, I'm confident in one thing. I know I'm the target demo for this product. See, I'm a gaming enthusiast who spares no dollar for access to quality gaming. That includes the biggest games, best graphics, and the smoothest performance. That said, there is a limit, as so far even the most enthusiasts like myself of consumers are willing to go. For instance, I will pay over $100, maybe even $150 for a special edition of a game that I purely want, that I really think is going to be a benefit to me. But if that special edition only comes bundled with the standard game and let's just say a $3 off coupon for a Big Mac, maybe not. And there goes the dilemma here. Being an enthusiast is not separated from sensible consumer decisions. And when it comes to the PlayStation 5 Pro, that's the $1 million question. On reveal day, were we shown enough to justify the $700 price tag for its target demo, the gaming enthusiast? Or did PlayStation go too far to protect its margins and price themselves into an even more niche demographic? The price insensitive enthusiasts. We'll tackle all this on the next installment of The Spill, our gaming hot topic video series. Buckle up and get ready for a good one. Let's go.
Yeah.
What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K of Hard Knock Digital Culture, Cloud Dosage, and MM2K Gaming, back again with The Spill. This is where we talk about the latest and greatest in video gaming news in shorter video form. This isn't a full podcast. We try to keep it significantly a lot shorter, and we focus on one subject matter. But before we get into all that, do us a huge favor. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and rock those bells for notifications, please, so you know when we're dropping these doses. Okay, this one is called the PlayStation 5 Pro Cost Debate Exposed. I'm seeing a lot of stuff going back and forth, and I think that this whole conversation is not doing gamers a service. I really hate when conversations get to a place to where people are just throwing rhetoric out there and nothing informed is being said on either side. So what I want to do is cut the fat from both sides of this argument so you get the straight dope of what's going on and why or why not this may be a problem. So in order to do that, we got to go to the very beginning, which was the reveal a few days ago from this recording. So let's go do that right now. This is an article from Insider Gaming. It says Sony reveals that the PlayStation 5 Pro with the November release date. The PS5 Pro is an all-digital console with the release date of November 7th. As far as the price goes, it retails for $699. That's a $200 increase over the base PlayStation 5 that features a disk drive. Console comes with a 2TB SSD, a dual sense controller, and a copy of Astro's Playroom pre-installed should you want to add a disk drive. You can buy the separate disk drive from the console for $80. Okay, all right. So let's ponder on that. Let's take a moment to think about that. Because here's what happened next after that reveal. Reasonably so, $699 creates sticker shock. I don't think there's never been a mainstream console that's come out at that price. When I see mainstream, I'm talking about like within the more successful brands of console gaming. I don't think there's been that price for a mainstream console, right? Genesis, I'm talking Sega, Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, right? So as a result, the PlayStation 5 Pro reveal is already Sony's most disliked console announcement. Bet you didn't see that coming. And this is an excerpt from that article. This is the official PlayStation 5 Pro reveal. Video currently sits at 2.9 million views. Now, this is as of a few days ago, with 90,000 likes and 140,000 dislikes. And the dislikes only getting higher. Again, this is a bigger backlash than any previous PlayStation console has been subject to. So here's the debate in a nutshell. The debate comes on two sides. Side number one is that there's people who think the price is just fine, and those people that think the price are fine. They're calling gamers that are disputing this price in the rollout just simply broke and making excuses for them being broke. We've had those accusations thrown at our co-host Coldblood when he was talking about his displeasure with the price, right? All of a sudden he's broke, you know what I mean? And other people are saying, well, you're just not an enthusiast. You're not part of the enthusiast market. So those are the claims that are being thrown at people that are complaining about this sticker shock. Second part of this discussion, which is equally as, off the mark, is that people are outraged because they, for some reason, no reason set by PlayStation, but they were expecting true 4K 60 gaming this gen, right? They were listening to a lot of the knuckleheads in the community. They were expecting that. And this is making them upset. And there's also another subsect of gamers who I think are more reasonable, but may still be a little bit hyperbolic about this. They're saying that, hey, if we accept this, expect $1,000 consoles at the beginning of next gen, right? So there are people that are worried about them not getting the 4K 60 that they felt like they were promised for these base consoles. And then there's people that believe that we're going to get $1,000 consoles at the beginning of next gen. All right. The truth is somewhere in the middle, but we're gonna get to that. But here's one thing that is part of the truth that I think are substantial complaints and substantial concerns, and why I personally am not favorable of this. This is where I land. I am not favorable. And I think the people that illustrate this the best are Digital Foundry. I think Digital Foundry does a great job in illustrating the concerns. One of the first things that Digital Foundry said is they said, look, there's no proof of, there's not enough proof rather of, what games are going to look like what. Like, we don't have numbers, details, anything to measure against. Digital Foundry was given some stills, but even when I look at the stills, I don't see much of a difference. You know what I'm saying? And I don't care about stills. I need to see the game in motion. So when I saw the presentation in motion did not scream to me, oh, that's a $700 upgrade. That's what I'm going to get. You know what I mean? I got it, but you got to show it to me. It's your job to sell it to me, not for me to find excuses to buy it just so I can be part of the fandom, right? So I did not see in motion $700 worth of upgrades, right? Also, the whole rollout was just lackluster to me. Like, you were just saying yes. You were just confirming this was true. And you were basically just confirming the stuff that was already leaked. I mean, I felt like that was a good way to make Insider Gaming and Tom Henderson feel good about themselves and pat themselves on the back. But that did nothing for me, the consumer. I got no credible, vital information that said, hey, this thing exists and tangibly, this is what it's going to do for its $700 price tag. I was told things that it may want to achieve, but definitively what it's going to do and for what and at what scale, I did not get that. The lackluster rollout was horrendous, and Digital Foundry spoke of that. And last but certainly not least, this is the most troublesome thing for me. Now, again, this isn't etched in stone, but it does put a big chink in the armor of the worth of this thing, even to enthusiasts. This is an IGN report where they take a snippet of what Digital Foundry had to say. And again, I think Digital Foundry capsulized the concerns perfectly. It says, will the PS5 Pro run GTA 6 at 4K 60? Probably not, say the experts, right? And I want to take an excerpt from what Digital Foundry had to say amongst the other things that I just recited. It says, when asked if GTA 6 could realistically run at 60 frames per second on the PlayStation 5 Pro, Richard Ledbetter of Digital Foundry is blunt in his analysis. Quote, no. Grand Theft Auto games have always run complex simulations that push the CPU hard, which is why every GTA game has initially launched on their target platforms at 30 frames per second or lower. He continues. The PlayStation 5 Pro uses the same CPU as the PlayStation 5, and it would be extremely challenging to hit 60 frames per second. If the base PlayStation 5 version is targeting 30 frames per second, end quote. He explains, quote, "This isn't a GPU problem, it's a CPU problem," end quote. So this is something that we've routinely heard from Digital Foundry. They are experts in these type of things. And as we found out from the spec release, the CPU has not been increased or has not been changed. Same CPU. Right? All this is GPU intensive and stuff like that. So if that's the case, Digital Foundry is very doubtful. They're betting. This is what it is. Digital Foundry is betting their chips on no. This thing is going to be CPU bottleneck, and that same CPU bottleneck is going to occur in the PlayStation 5 Pro. So no, you're not going to get 60 frames per second. You're not getting on the base model, so you're not getting it here. That, if it's true, is a problem, but that is the problem. Digital Foundry is saying that, but they're not PlayStation, and we can only have PlayStation and Rockstar confirm that. So where's PlayStation at with this? Here's my argument versus all this, versus both of the sides that are really mucking this up and saying a bunch of crazy stuff. All right. So let's address the crazy stuff from the glazing enthusiasts. The glazing enthusiasts are using information that I think has been put out there wrongly to justify, oh, this is an enthusiast product. What information has been put out there wrongly or inaccurately? Here. Let's go here. This is the homie Matt Piscatella. Love Matt. Y'all drove him off for Twitter, and I still love him. He's on Blue Sky now. But here's something that Matt had to say in regards to all this. So I want to do this here. Let's do this live on air to hopefully make this make sense for everybody. I'm going to highlight this right here in green. Right, did it do it? No, it didn't do it. Okay, let's go back. I want to highlight this in green. Don't make me look like a fool. There we go. All right, so we're going to highlight this in green. And then we're going to highlight this in green. And then we're going to go down here. Now, bear with me now. It'll all make sense shortly. And we're going to highlight this in green. Then we're going to go back up here. And we're going to highlight this in red. Okay. So let's go back down here first. Matt Piscatella put out this fun fact. He says, PlayStation 4 Pro fun fact. In the US, PlayStation 4 Pro accounted for 13% of total lifetime PS4 units and about 15% of dollars. So what they mean is, look, it only sold around 13% of the player base, but because it was more expensive, it brought in 15% of the revenue. That's a big hefty chunk to help boost up their margins. And PlayStation, we know right now, they're in a serious place in regards to their margins. Their margins have been cut in half since 4 years ago, around 4 years ago. Where the margins have gone from 12% down to 6%. And so they're looking to increase their margins. Also talking or listening to Digital Foundry, they surmise that we don't see $200 worth of upgrades here. Like the upgrades, and I'm just guesstimating here, the upgrades may be half that, but the rest of that they're trying to make in profit, right, off the machine. And there's nothing wrong with making profit off a machine, especially a high-end enthusiast machine. But they're suggesting that these would be the highest margins on a console ever, including prior mid-gen refreshes. That's likely all to make up for their loss in margins. The extra $5 on the damn controller, right? The raise in price to the digital version with the PlayStation Slim, the base version, the price hike in Japan, and there's plenty more to come under the great leader Hiroki Totoki, and I do mean that sarcastically, right? So because of that, they're all about margins, and I think that plays a huge part in why this thing is $700. Now, there's other ways that I think they can get those margins up. We have a podcast that's, if you're listening to this live, there's a podcast on the back end of this. Stay tuned for that podcast. If you're not listening to this live, there's going to be a card that'll pop up at the end of this where you can check out that podcast. All right. With that being said, though, that is right. That is an actual fact. And I'm happy that he pointed it out. Here's where I think the mistake was made inadvertently. Matt Piscatella is saying, hey, look, if you think the price of the PlayStation 5 Pro is too high, you'll just be part of the 85% of the PlayStation 5 buyers who think the same. What he's assuming correctly is that there are 85% to maybe 80% of the PlayStation user base who a console like this, whether it was, even if it was $600, would be too pricey for them. Maybe even at $500, because they're like, hold on, I just bought a console. Why do I got to buy another console at $500? Like, so if this thing was even $500, it would be too pricey for them. They're not part of the hyper enthusiast market. I am. When I bought my PlayStation 4 Pro, the upgrades were nominal. But I'm looking at it like it's $400. Hell yeah, I'll get that. And for my nominal upgrades for $400, I said this was worth it. I don't see $700 worth of upgrades from what we were shown in that lackluster rollout. So even though I'm part of the hyper enthusiast market that I think is part of the 15%, that's why I highlighted them both green, I think Matt is erroneous in assuming that 15% represents a price insensitive hyper enthusiast market. No, that's a special type of hyper enthusiast where I think out of the entire hyper enthusiast market, only 40% are price insensitive. The rest of us are less likely to worry about price as much as the normal market would be. But you can't slap any price. Like this price insensitive wing of the hyper enthusiasts, this thing could be $900, $1,100. They wouldn't care. They would still buy it. Me? No, I beckon back to what I said at the bumper. I'll pay $150 for a game. But if it only comes, if it's only $150 because it comes with a Big Mac $3 off coupon, hell no, I'm not buying that. The same applies here. So every hyper enthusiast is not price insensitive. That's where I think the mistake is being made. And I think that PlayStation is woefully making the same mistake. They want to get margins up and they think, look, we have so many people that are dying for 4K 60 that we can get 15, maybe even 20% of the market to indulge in this thing. I think they'll be lucky to get 10. I think they'll probably get like 5 to 7% instead of 15. And I think that's going to be well below the range that they want. So with that said, here's my closing, or here's my argument overall. I think that the enthusiast side that is trying to make it seem like that, you know, the price insensitive enthusiasts that'll pay any price because it's a PlayStation product, they don't understand they're part of a niche group, right? And it ain't about being broke. I will buy this thing if you show me where the $700 plays in, right? And I'll break it to you specifically what I need to see. I mean, it's not about being broke. Also, check this out. This is Imran Khan. He is the director or the game dev and a senior writer at VentureBeat. And he says, look, I'm the exact audience for this thing and think the price point is insane. I totally agree. It's insane for what we were shown. I'll say that. You could show me, and I'll tell you what you need to show me. You could show me, and it's plausible that you'll be able to show me that, but you got to show me before I dedicate anything. If this is the junks of what we're going to see up until launch, no way, Jose. All right. Also, on the other side, some of the outrageous belief systems out there is that we had people that feel like, oh, I was supposed to get 4K 60 at launch on the base models, so you know, I would have been willing to pay $600 for this thing. This is how bad I want it. And I'm not paying $700. Here's what I have to say to you guys. You guys got bamboozled. Nowhere did PlayStation say that you were going to get 4K 60 on the base model. You know where that came from? That came from the opposite side of the idiots and bozos that told you would get 40 to 50 frame deltas on the Xbox. Here's the other idiots and bozos you were listening to that you shouldn't have been listening to. You should have been listening to MM2K. Why? Because MM2K told you years ago, you're not going to get 4K 60 on these machines. Here's an article from DualShockers. They said, have you heard this dumb rumor? Now, this is from August 15th, 2020. Have you heard this dumb rumor circling around that somehow the PlayStation 5 can't run native 4K games at 60 frames per second? Sounds bogus, right? That's because it is. In a recent statement from developer Team Kill Media, we get confirmation that there should be no problem for the PlayStation next-gen gaming platform to hit 4K 60 benchmarks with ease. This is not a first-party developer. They have no business speaking like that. With ease, in such confidence across the board. That was absurd. You guys fell for that, though. That's your fault. That's your fault. I'm sorry, because PlayStation never said it to you. That's why we refuse to talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro here, because it was just vapor. It was understandable and fathomable vapor, but it was vapor until it came out the mouth of the PlayStation, of the people at PlayStation. Once it came out their mouths, now it became fathomable, right? But let's examine something else that's being said out here too. And that is, people are worried about the precedent it sets. There's now this thing that, hey, maybe, the consoles are going to cost $1,000. Look, I am worried about the price medium of a console next gen because of this, because of the lack of competition and stuff like that. But if they come out with $1,000 console, Hiroki Totoki has a lot of problems. I don't think he's that stupid. They come out with $1,000 console, it's over. People are going to PC, period. If they want AAA gaming. No. So, again, that's taking it far into the weeds. Here's what I'm looking for, though. In totality, as part of the target demo, is like Imran and others who are like, look, I'd be willing to pay for this $700, but you got to show me $700. Come on. Here's what I want to see at the bare minimum for $700. And I don't even think this is even a lot. Like, Cold Blood is probably going to hear this and be like, no, that's not enough, Moss. You know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to, I'm trying to extend an olive branch here. I think $700 is fair if at the bare minimum, we get 1440p 60 as the base resolution upscaled to 4K with this PSSR with high settings and decent ray tracing effects. Not the highest, but decent ray tracing effects through now your hardware ray tracing integration. That's we need to see that as a bare minimum for these performance modes. And that minimum needs to be extremely frequent. This is the frequency that I want to see those minimums. 100% of the time on PlayStation exclusives. Like, you're going around sending pictures to Digital Foundry over Final Fantasy VII Remake, who had a horrendous performance mode. Okay, fine. If they can get there, then on average, if it's going to be a PlayStation exclusive, whether it's first party or second party, it better at bare minimum be a 1440p 60 upres to 4K with high settings and ray tracing effects. Bare minimum. 100% of the games from here on out, no exceptions. If it's a PlayStation exclusive, I want to see that minimum 90% of the time for the general high demand AAA games. So like a Dragon's Dogma 3 or a Cyberpunk 2 or whatever, I mean, that's going to be PlayStation 6, but you catch my drift. For all the AAA games that are in high demand, they're going to have that PlayStation 5 Pro enhancement. You guys better be, scratching and clawing to ensure that's the bare minimum for the performance mode. And for $700, I want to see that in 75% of the AAA games that come to the platform. If I can see 100% of your exclusives, 90% of, the big ticket AAA games, and 75% of AAA games in general, with that performance mode at the bare minimum, a bare minimum of 1440p 60. I'm not saying that should be all 1440p 60 or higher. Bare minimum. I'm willing to make an exception despite what they're saying. And this is a must too. Because if you're charging $700, there should be no game that is a high demand game, AAA game at that, that's only running at 30. It better run 60. And in order to make it run 60, I will be able to make exception for one game, and that's Grand Theft Auto 6. I'll be willing to accept for $700 because it's super CPU intensive, a 1080p mode upscaled to 4K, high settings, ray tracing effects. Well, I really don't need ray tracing. I don't care about that, but high settings for GTA 6. And if in order to get that, you got to bump out the ray tracing, fine. I need those three things. I don't get those three things, you're not getting my, if I don't feel comfortable with those three things, you're not getting my $700. So I'm gonna tell you what I'm watching. We already got a CPU intensive game in Dragon's Dogma. That'll be my first cue. If y'all can get Dragon's Dogma 1440p 60 at 60 frames per second, upscale to 4K, I'm with you. You got my money, because that'll give me more hope towards Grand Theft Auto. That could be a foolish way of looking at it, but at least I know for the CPU intensive stuff that this thing is capable. But if I don't see that at the very least, I'm still sitting back watching, and I'm waiting for GTA 6 and what you announce with that. Here's my closing. Frankly, as I illustrated prior, I don't know if this thing will be successful, let alone worth it. I think it's fair to assume that Sony needs about 15% adoption rate from its consumer base for this thing to be considered a success, for the reasons that I've spoken, including the training of its PSSR. It hasn't shown enough in the kickoff presentation to justify the price, or in general. And I say that knowing a group of you are listening are like, well, speak for yourself, I'm day one. That's fine. I'm not telling you not to buy it. I'm telling you what it will take for me and the majority of the hyper enthusiasts to buy this. Ultra enthusiasts who make up less than half of the intended demo may be willing to jump on this, but I don't think that's enough. But who knows? Time will tell. Admittingly, my assertions could be wrong. This thing could be a success, or this thing can do all the things that that I'm leery about. Digital Foundry could be wrong. Who knows? We'll see. But we need Sony to provide specifics on game performance title by title, and more importantly for me and a lot of others, GTA 6 needs to have an acceptable performance mode. If not, it won't look pretty. And I don't know if it's worth it for anybody to invest in a product doomed for minimum support. That's it from your boy. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below, because like I always say, we're curious what I think. But if you did like what I had to say, check out the links below to follow me. They will lead you to Hard Knock Digital Culture, Cloud Dosage, and here at MM2K Gaming. With that said, peace. Have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day.